This is the Shotgun City Sheriff, the law himself, Clayton Clark.
This is the young Titan, Aaron Atlas.
This is your favorite drunken pro wrestler, a.k.a. the Bud Light Brawler, Dalton Davis.
This is Danger Josh Crane.
Hey, this is Matt Brannigan.
This is Sage Phillips, the Catch Wrestling Casanova.
This is Steve Wilson, the man behind former Impact Wrestling and current independent wrestling star, the Monster, Congo Kong.
This is Jake Something.
And this is the jaw-jacking, back-cracking, God created all men equal, and then he made me the sequel, Rohit Raju, and you are listening to the Spot Show Podcast.
The Spot Show Podcast.
Spot Show Podcast.
The Spot Show Podcast.
Spot Show Podcast. Hell yeah.
The Spot Show Podcast.
The Spot Show Podcast? Yeah, that's right, I stuttered. Shut up.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Spot Show Podcast, a professional wrestling podcast not about professional wrestling. And you know what? We loved that name a little bit today. We live up to that name. I meant to say live up, and I stuttered a little bit. We're only 20 seconds into the podcast. I'm already stuttering, muttering, fuck. You know that?
It's been a long day.
It has. It's been a very long day. So yeah, we the voice you hear right there, that's the one-legged wonder, Michael Madrox.
I'm always here.
You're always here. I, of course, am the Dr. Seuss of the commentary booth, Dickie Wabash. We're not alone today.
No.
We are not alone today. We have a very special guest. We've been wanting to get this guy on for a little bit. We had to kind of tranquilizer dart him to get him to be kind of normal for a little bit. But
I had to beat him in the head with an encyclopedia to settle him down.
Yeah, so he should be clear for about a good hour or so, and then we're probably going to have to
do it again.
Ladies and gentlemen, you know him, you love him, you've seen him collect a face or two in your time. Let's hear it for the face collector, Mr. Jared Savage. I thought you calmed down. What are we doing here?
I mean, I'm as calm as I can be right now.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. So welcome to the podcast, Jared.
Thank you.
Yeah, we've been wanting to have you on here for a long time, but schedules just haven't lined up.
Yeah. Well, admittedly, a shoot job there for a while did not fucking work out for me when it came to trying to be on the podcast.
Yeah, and you've just been out collecting faces. You know, you've just been out collecting faces left and right. Not been able to be on here. You know what I mean? But
can I explain something to the listeners right now?
Let's go right ahead.
Jared Savage has been on multiple podcasts this year. This kid's career has blown up.
Yeah.
We didn't want him to be normal, gimmicked, anything. We wanted a real conversation with a Jared we know.
Yep.
So this might be a shock for most people, but hey, this is something different. This ain't your normal, well, I trained here and I did this.
Well, we never do that. We never have those conversations. We never, like every guest we've had on, I mean, we sprinkle it in, but like we're not going to start the conversation and be like, okay, Jared, tell us about where you trained. We're just not going to do that. We actually have a topic for today's podcast.
We do.
That is something that we've wanted to talk about for a very long time. And I remember telling Jared, I was like, look, this is going to be one of the topics that we want to talk about at some point. So it's wrestling video games. And Jared is claiming to be an encyclopedia of wrestling-related video games.
It's definitely not a claim. I'm going to fucking lay it out here today. Like, I'm about to pull out some shit. You guys are going to be like, what the fuck game is that? Like, I have played at this point, I don't know if I'm proud to admit it, but I played like probably 90% of the wrestling games to ever exist. Like, talking about, like, I think the only ones I haven't really played is like the Commodore games. Just a few. But like, I've played the Atari shit. I mean, Japanese shit. God, dude, don't even get me started. I've played so fucking much.
Yeah. So yeah, that was, you know, Jared was like, yeah, when you guys talk about wrestling video games, I want to be on there. And I was like, you know, it is spooky season, of course. So you're probably wondering, what does video games have to do with spooky season? Well, I mean, we've got the face collector right over here. You know, we've got the face collector on the podcast.
There's nothing more spooky than that.
Yeah, I was about to say, I was like, I don't really know what could be more spooky than that.
WCW Halloween Havoc 2000.
Dude, no.
Look, I don't know it. Like, you guys watched that more recent than I have, but whatever the fuck me and Madrox watched yesterday, that was bad. It was WCW. It was like, I think August of 2000.
August 28th, 2000.
It was bad.
You just blew Madrox a spot because he's been trying to convince me that it's really good.
No, it's so bad it's good.
I mean, okay, because there's a difference. There's a difference
between bad and bad it's good.
No, I agree wholeheartedly. And like New Blood Rising was so bad it was good, but Halloween Havoc was just bad.
Dickie,
Yeah.
all I'm going to tell you is a pickup truck full of guitars to stop Goldberg, a broken steel cage, and the Harris brothers beat the shit out of a fan 30 seconds into a match.
Yeah, that was fucking wild. You definitely keep on watch for the pickup truck full of guitars, because I came downstairs and like I saw, like, it was the first thing I fucking saw, Mike Awesome just jumping out of this shit. Like, he was buried under it. He jumps out and starts beating the shit out of Jeff Jarrett. I was like, okay, that's a way to fucking do the guitars, I guess.
So this was not long after New Blood Rising then?
No.
If it was in August, because
Yeah.
New Blood Rising was August 14th.
The 2 weeks difference makes it seem like night and day WCW.
I'm going to have to watch it now. Whenever we're done recording, I'll probably turn it on.
Good.
I'll probably watch
Good.
it. But hey, before we get too far into this, I just want to let everybody know that this episode of the Spot Show podcast is brought to you by Hybrid Championship Wrestling, Yoo-Hoo, and the Retro Zone with Jalen Silva. But we're going to get a little bit more information on those guys later. That is, of course, unless you head on over to patreon.com/MadBash Studios. And if you back us at the $5 and above tier, you are going to get this show completely ad-free. That's a good deal. That's a good deal right there. I don't care what anybody says. That's a very good deal. You're also going to get it early. You're going to get it at least 24 hours early. We've been pretty good about getting it up a few days early because we've been, staying ahead of the curve and all that. But, there's so much more to do over on this Patreon. Right now, you can head on over and you can listen to the newest episode of Big Stupid Popcorn. We did Demon House, the Zach Bagans documentary, and hoo boy, that sure is something. But hey, you also get exclusive voting rights, exclusive topic rights on the $10 tier. You head on over to patreon.com/MadBash Studios. But listen, I know that sometimes you don't have two pennies to scrape together. I know that money can be hard to come by sometimes. We've all been there. We've all had struggles. You can support this podcast and this production company absolutely free of charge. If you head on over to your favorite podcasting platform, hit that 5-star review, give us a share ski with somebody that you think would like us, go on over to the YouTube, subscribe to the YouTube channel, like the Facebook page. That's pretty much it. Man, I feel like the rigmarole that I have to do just keeps getting longer and longer. Why are you playing Bando voice messages?
That wasn't a Bando voice message. I was scrolling through Facebook because Parker posted something funny.
Listen, that you can turn off the defaults, right? And it won't automatically play with sound.
Yeah, I know.
Then do it.
I'm not even on my phone now.
I can't tell you how many times I've been sitting with you and you just hear something start talking and then you have to hurry up and scroll past it.
Yeah, well.
It's fucking annoying, dude. I'm straight shooting on your ass right now.
Dalton
Dickie
Davis
is
just
shooting.
mentioned us in the same context as Eminem and Dr. Dre. So there's that.
He's not wrong.
He is not
Who's
wrong.
Eminem and who's Dr. Dre?
He did the lyrics for Forgot About Dre and switched it to Forgot About MadBash.
Hell yeah.
That's cool.
Hell yeah. Slim Shady. Hotter than a set of twin babies. Where are we going with this? Yeah. So we are here, as I said earlier, we're going to talk about wrestling video games.
They make those?
They do.
Oh.
And full disclosure, I have not played the newest 2K game, and I have not played Fight Forever. But Jared, you have, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah,
I haven't either.
So you can give your thoughts on them.
I'm one of those fucking video game marks who pre-orders all the shit and does all the bullshit, even when I shouldn't probably spend that much money.
I do that with video games too a lot of times, but just something about these last couple wrestling games, I've not really been feeling them. But
Well, no, I get that. I mean, especially when it comes to 2K, when it's like the same recycled bullshit that I hate saying we've been playing for fucking years. The only real difference in any of them lately was when 2K22 came out. And what was this last year? Just recycled shit.
Yeah, and I think that's why the last 2K. So Rey Mysterio was on 2K23, right?
No, he was on 22.
22, my bad. The reason that game was so well received is because the previous one was so fucking bad. And then they like made good with this new one. So then, but anyway, we're kind of getting ahead of it here because we're talking about current day wrestling. As we'll get more into 2K games here in a bit because I want to kind of canonical timeline this. Like I want to talk about old stuff and then work more into the newer stuff as we go along. So
That's fine with me.
With that being said, we're all around the same age. So what was the first wrestling game that you ever played? Let's start with you, Madrox.
WWF Royal Rumble on the Sega Genesis.
Okay. Do you have any fond memories of it?
Dude, I used to play that game for hours on end. Favorite character was Papa Shango because he looked like Sting in the 8-bit graphics.
I love it. I love it.
And the narcissist Lex Luger, just because I could hit his finisher out of nowhere with a simple glitch. If you hit CBA backwards in that order, for some reason it would throw his perfect line every time.
So you were playing on Genesis then?
Yes.
Now, just a note, to anybody who fucking didn't play those games or whatever, Royal Rumble and Super WrestleMania both had exclusive characters to each like system.
So did Monday Night Raw.
Did, but it didn't have as many, if I remember right.
Each game had one extra character.
If I'm right, like Royal Rumble, I'm pretty sure that had Hogan on the Genesis, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and you didn't get that on Super Nintendo.
So, Jared, what was your first wrestling game?
So the first one I ever played would have had to be WCW Nitro, which is not a good start, but as a little kid, I mean, who cares, you know? I'm just happy I was playing a wrestling game.
Yeah.
But out of like owning, being my own, not just playing at like a cousin's or some shit, Muscle, the tag team game for NES, and then I stepped up like 3D wise to WWF Attitude.
I liked Attitude a lot.
I still play Attitude, even though I understand some people don't like it. I mean, you had to do like Tekken style combos and shit to pull off moves, but I don't know, man. The roster on the game, I mean, just the nostalgia to it. And not to mention, too, I mean, that same engine got used for the ECW games, which I fucking love those too, because it's basically having a sequel to Attitude. So,
yeah. So then for me, I'm pretty sure it was WCW versus NWO World Tour.
Ooh, that's a good one.
You started off with a heavy hitter then.
I did. That was a Christmas gift. So for Christmas one year, my cousin and I, my grandma got us each World Tour, Diddy Kong Racing, and our own N64 controller. And mine was blue, his was green. And I played World Tour a lot. But I didn't have a memory card. So I had to continuously unlock the people because you had to have a memory card with that game. That was one of the few N64 games where you needed to have a memory card, as I'm sure you know, Jared.
Yeah.
And I would always have to re-unlock Macho Man. Re-unlock Wrath was one of them, I believe. Diamond Dallas Page was one of them. And whoever, but what I remember about it is that now, Jared, again, this is where your expertise in wrestling video games is going to swoop in here. That was essentially a bootleg Japanese game, right?
Well,
not really. Let me rephrase that. Not really bootleg, but a repurposed.
So yes and no, because all right. So it was virtual pro wrestling for the N64 in Japan. It was the first one. It had WCW licensed guys.
Yeah.
So it was versus the world. However, World Tour. All those fucking games came out at the same time. And
They all
similar.
did. There was like a couple of years where there were just like a ton of WCW games.
So I've beat the Japanese version. I beat that shit on an emulator. Like I had this job that I literally didn't have anything to do all day. So I'd bring this little emulator fucking Android box. And that was like one of the games I was like, okay, I'm beating this. And I'm not going to lie, man, that version is so much better just because you've got the Japanese guys in it, which none of them are licensed at this point, but you know who's who. There's more, like, I know the American version had like DOA and all these other, you know, gimmick promotions in there to take up space for the real promotions and shit. But this had a more extensive roster on each one. Plus, some guys, when you'd unlock them, you'd be able to unlock, like, if you hold Z in the same slot, it comes up with a whole different wrestler. So, like, Muhammad Ali was one of the unlockables.
Oh yeah, he was in World Tour, right? Couldn't you unlock him?
I think he was, but I'm not 100% sure.
That sounds familiar. That sounds right. I've heard that before.
But I really, really enjoyed the Japanese version a lot. That's probably like one of the few that I don't have in my personal collection right now that I really need to get a hold of. Like I've got it on I've got one of those bootleg fucking carts that you can put in your 64 that has like.
It's not the same though.
It's really not.
It's not.
Even,
I like the idea because the collector in me is like, everyone's like, oh well, you can do these emulators and get all this stuff, and I'm like, that's not the point. Like, it's not a wrestling video game, but there's a game called The Misadventures of Tron Bonne that is on PlayStation 1. And I own it on my PS3. I bought the digital copy of it, but it's not the same, man. I want the physical game.
I'm the same way.
Yeah.
Actually, as far as that goes, Twisted Metal is a huge, like, I don't know why, man, but of all the series of games, that was like one of my favorites.
I love Twisted Metal.
I have Black on my PS4 digitally, but I went and bought the fucking physical copy because it's not the same. Even if the controller's kind of the same.
Yeah.
It's not the same experience as putting the disc in your system, turning it on, and playing on actual hardware.
Yeah. So to bring it back into wrestling games a little bit too, like I remember what?
I was going to chop in, but you took over.
No, you
It's
better
good.
chop in.
About Twisted Metal?
Yes.
Go on.
Speaking of Twisted Metal and wrestling games, I'm bringing it back home. WWE Crush Hour.
Dude,
Crush
Crush Hour.
I mean, we're
Oh
jumping
my
ahead a little
God.
bit, but yeah, let's talk Crush Hour.
I fucking love Crush
Listen,
Hour.
I've accepted there isn't going to be we're just going to jump around and talk about.
Yeah,
Hey,
you
this is
got
what
to.
this is going to turn into. You remember this game? Oh fuck yeah, I remember this game. You remember this? Oh yeah, I remember that one. But anyway,
I will say right now, I don't give a fuck what anyone says. Playing Twisted Metal Black and playing Crush Hour has a little bit better gameplay. Just a little bit.
that's a bold claim because I agree with you. I think Black is a little bit clunky in some parts.
No, it absolutely is.
Crush Hour is smooth.
Crush Hour was very smooth.
Just don't play it on GameCube. Like, I've played the GameCube version, but the PS2 version's better.
I think I own it on GameCube. It's either, well, hang on. What do I own it on? Might be, I'm pretty sure it's PS2. But anyway,
Dude,
yeah.
I mean, look at the roster that fucking thing had. Like,
it was a huge fucking roster.
Yeah.
And you could tell that all they did was just repurposed character models from SmackDown Shut Your Mouth.
Yes.
Yeah, no, they absolutely did. Some of like the animations though, like when you pick, you pick the car you want, they always do their taunt right before.
Yeah.
Some of those taunts look so fucking clunky and weird.
Well, I mean, we also got to consider too, we're looking at PS2 era hardware.
No,
So-
you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
I'll give it that.
But no, I mean, you can call it clunky, but I mean, back in the day, it's like, oh, fuck, that's awesome.
Well, dude, looking back too, like just not just the roster, but the detail they put into each map. Like you had Raw and SmackDown, both of them. I mean, if you were going to convert Raw and SmackDown into a vehicular, whatever the fuck word is, combat scenario, they look exactly on point to what you would expect. Plus the little entrances with the Titantron shit. It was so cool. And then they made fucking maps for every single match type you could think of.
Yeah, like Hell in a Cell was a pyramid, right?
Yeah.
It was something weird.
That was different. That was a really weird one. But like you had that as the Egypt type area. You had Last Man Standing. You had Battle Royal, Royal Rumble. The Royal Rumble, they used because that year, if I remember right, they were doing the fucking train thing on the graphic. So they use that in like, there's a train that comes by and if it hits you, you're eliminated. You're done.
That's cool.
They had the hardcore. Because remember, 24/7 thing was going on at the time still. The hardcore match, I remember you get a hold of the belt. You got to hold it for like 30 to 60 seconds, whatever you choose.
I remember that.
Yeah, and if someone else gets it before you can get up with the time limit, then they're holding the title. And if they can hold it till the end, then they're the winner.
Yeah.
Like, just so much about that game. Like, it's so slept on, dude. There's a lot of people I know who've never heard of it or never played it. And I've told like everybody that I can think of, I'm like, play this game.
Well, I mean, it's an odd game.
No, it is.
Yeah.
I remember when I was a kid, there's this kid who was also named Jared that I was friends with, and he told me about it. He's like, dude, you heard about Crush Hour? And he's telling me all about it. And I'm like, that doesn't sound like a real game. This sounds like bullshit. Like, why would they make
It sounds like
Jeff Hardy can shoot ladders out of his car?
Yeah,
You should have seen Kane's fucking car.
It definitely sounds like one of those, like, my uncle works for Nintendo and he told me stories. You know what I mean?
Absolutely does. Man, I'm so glad that game exists.
Who was your favorite character to play?
Jericho. I'd always do Jericho.
Kane.
Kane was good.
I was unstoppable Benoit.
I picked Kane mostly because, I mean, growing up, he was my favorite wrestler. Him and Undertaker both, but Kane more so. But his car in there, I mean, it has decent stats on it. Triple H has some pretty decent stats. Austin did. Taker did. Some of them that I really wish would have had better stats were the ones that didn't. Like, it sucks, man, but the Hardys, both of them, their cars weren't very good.
Rob Van Dam's car was horrible.
Even though it was cool seeing him on an ATV, it wasn't. It didn't have good stats on it.
Jared Savage is giving us a retrospect of WWF Crush Hour or Crush Hour. What is my 2023? You know what I mean?
I told you guys, when you get me on here to talk about this is going to be the thing that I could talk about for hours, dude, because wrestling games have been embedded into me. Like, wrestling in general, it's never not been there my whole life, but like the games especially, because there was a while there, don't get me wrong, I've always played video games.
Oh, yeah.
But there was like a long time there where my goal was to buy everyone. And now the problem is pretty much bought all of them. There's still like a handful of shit that I don't
like
own.
you said, some of the Japanese imports you still don't have. And
yeah, there's a couple of them I don't have. But I will say some of my prize, like, you know, out of my collection would be the Japanese PS2 games. Because all of them, there's some that are kind of clunky or whatever, but almost all of them, it's a whole different experience than what we were getting with the US games at the time. I don't know, man. Like, almost all the Japanese games I played, even like the Super Nintendo ones, they were a little bit more advanced. Like, when you had Super WrestleMania, Royal Rumble, and Raw, you had New Japan putting, I think it's called like Shin Nippon Pro Wrestling. There's like 3 of them, but like the last one they did, it was badass. It had really good gameplay, a really good roster. It even had entrances, which the WWF games didn't have that on the Super Nintendo.
No, they didn't. So that's what you talk about Japan. Like, I am very unfamiliar with like the Fire Pro Wrestling series.
Really?
I've really never played it. I've played Fire Pro Wrestling World, and I downloaded a bunch of mods and stuff for it on Steam. And I was like doing like exploding barbed wire matches, like Sandman versus Doink the Clown, like just dumb shit like that. But I've never really played Fire Pro
made
Wrestling.
for though.
Exactly, that's exactly what those games are made for.
I'll say I love the Fire Pro series, but at this point, you could do with just getting that game, and you've pretty much experienced all of it, because that's the best of the best out of all of them. Like, the only real differences in some of them, I know the Super Nintendo ones, actually, no, I don't even think it was a Super Nintendo. The Dreamcast, the PS1, and even the Game Boy, like the death match in there, instead of having like barbed wire and shit, you just had a electrified cage.
Mm-hmm.
You could turn on the explosion option, but like when you have World, you've got a bunch of different match types.
Yeah.
Like you said, you've got the community thing that you can download from.
Yep.
They've got the fucking move editor in there. They've got the parts editor.
Yeah.
Where people are putting, you know, real people's faces and
Dude,
and shit in
it
there.
just makes me like, it's just such a specific talent to be able to make such a good creator wrestler on a game like that, like, or in general, like, because you look at some of the community creations for Fire Pro Wrestling World and it's like, oh my God. Like,
do you remember? Because I mean, you know, that came out way before AEW existed or anything.
Yeah.
I remember I downloaded Orange Cassidy on there and someone made all his moves and they made him to look like, I mean, I hate saying even Fight Forever doesn't have some of the shit that you could do with, like I said, with the created move stuff that this guy came up with for the Orange Cassidy character. It's really fucking wild to me, like the extensive creatability that you have.
They really just essentially give you the source code for the game and they just let
Have
you
fun with it.
have fun
Yeah.
with it.
It's like the Sims of pro wrestling.
Also, it's one of the few games. Now, if you have on PS4, which that's what I got mine on, you can still it's one of the few games you can still upload your own music to. Like I don't know. I'm still a GCW mark. I don't know. I think I've taken wrestling more seriously, so that's changed a little bit. But like, I have on my PS4, I've got a whole GCW roster. I fucking have.
You got Cole Radrick?
Actually, I do have Cole Radrick. It's an old version of Cole Radrick, so it's probably not that good. But I had him in there for sure. But like I said, I have everyone's themes on that shit. Also, you could edit how long it took for them to come out. Like, good example, Effie, he uses that Elton John song. I can't think of what it is at the moment, but it's got a super long like intro before he actually comes out.
So you can modify it to actually have the intro.
Mm-hmm.
That's
and
dope.
Like I said, you could sit there. Like I said, I have it to where he doesn't come out until he's actually supposed to. So it's a good like 30 seconds probably of just looking at the entrance stage and listening to the song. But who gives a shit? It makes it more authentic and, like it's supposed to be.
Is there a Jared Savage on Fire Pro Wrestling World?
I don't know. I know I made Ala Zulu. I'm pretty sure I made myself, but this was before they did the parts editor. I want to create myself in there because that's something I do on all the games. And usually I'm really like in depth with like the detail. Like I've taken pictures of my shorts and shit and all that, tattoos. I've uploaded them to the games, but the Fire Pro editor, that's different. Like
it hits different. Yeah.
You have to have a computer for one. And so since it's a 2D game, you literally have to, like, if I was going to use my mask, right, I have to cut out specific angles for every single angle that my character is going to turn.
You're essentially animating the character.
Exactly. And it's a lot more difficult than any of the other, creative platforms I've used on games. So that one, it's something, like I said, I have interest in and I want to do, but I don't know, man, if I'm that talented as far as like, I'm tech savvy.
I know.
That.
That's just a level of artistic that so that brings us to like the next topic of conversation. You talk about creator wrestlers. You want to talk about this guy right here, Michael Madrox, back in the day on SmackDown vs. Raw 06? 06, I think it was. He had a lot of creator wrestlers and some really good ones too.
Well, at that time you had cause.ws.
Yeah. Yep. I remember cause.ws and they would walk you step for step on how to do it.
The only time I'd get mad is like when there's a couple of them where there's like use this Game Shark code to kind of edit, to like some of the texture shit. That would piss me off. But the ones where I didn't have to worry about that, I was solid with.
I had the Game Shark texture codes.
Fuck you. I didn't have a Game Shark at the time.
Because I remember you brought me your PS2 memory card and you said, yeah, you can go ahead and...
Cards.
Or what?
I filled cards full up of creator wrestlers, man.
Dude,
yeah.
I did that with Fire Pro Returns because that was before World and it was a lot harder to do back then, but you had to download editor packs from the internet. You had to use this thing called the Action Replay, I'm pretty sure.
Action Replay, I'm very familiar with Action Replay.
So you had to do the swap with the USB stick to your memory card, all that. And I still have memory cards that have each of them have one save file for returns. There's like an NWA pack. There's a Attitude Era pack. There's one that was supposed to be, that was current at the time. And when I say current at the time, we're talking like Nexus. All right.
Oh, wow.
So that's how long it's been. But man, that fucking brings me so many good memories. I still do the same thing with some. Like, I think I have like a couple different versions of 06. Like, I got one that my buddy hooked me up with. It's got like ROH guys and shit. Then I've got like another one that has I want to say it's got like all the deathmatch guys from the time. There's also one cool thing about, especially about 06. Some of the models that didn't get released in the normal game, you could unlock with that. Like Kenzo Suzuki was one of them. I can't remember off the top of my head who else, but there's a couple people that were supposed to be in there that they just took out that they did the mod shit or whatever, and they're still in the game. So
Yeah, I never got that in depth with the stuff. I would always make me, and then I'd make all my backyard buddies. And then the older I got and the more I played the video games, I would usually just stick to making my one character. And then when Community Creations comes out, then that's when you can just be like, why do I even need to create anything? Because I can just download. I remember, what was the one that had Lesnar on the cover? Was that 17 or 16? 16 or 17?
16 had Austin.
Okay, so then
So
Lesnar was 17. I remember downloading Adam Cole, the Bucks, Cody Rhodes, dude, I downloaded essentially the entire Chikara roster on, which one was it? Probably 13. I think it might have been 14. 14 was the one with The Rock on the cover, right? Or was that 13? And it had
13 had Punk. I want to say 12 had Orton, so it would have had to be 14.
It was 14. I downloaded the entire Chikara roster, and my universe mode was fucking insane on that one, because that was when they were first starting to do universe modes. So I had Fire Ant won King of the Ring, and sort of stuff like that. But yeah, man, getting that's a level that I have never been good at, is the creator wrestlers. I've just not been, because I just don't even creating characters in a character creator or something like that. Whenever say you start I don't know, Fallout 3 or something, and you design your character. I've never been good at that stuff.
No, dude, same.
Never
I think
been good.
Actually, on Fallout 3, I remember I tried making my guy look like Macho Man. Didn't really look like Macho Man much. You had fucking long hair. You had the fucking beard and shit, but that's as far as it got.
Hey, wait, is Macho Man here?
Oh yeah, digging, yeah, right here, live in the flesh, yeah, right now, right here on the MadBash Studios podcast, yeah, digging.
So whenever we were gonna do the MadBash Wrestling goes to WrestleMania, or sorry, MadBash Studios goes to WrestleMania.
Motherfuckers.
I will blame him.
Sorry, I died.
Yeah, he's the one that died.
Why'd
we
you do
were
that?
gonna do a thing where we were gonna be like, hey, we have an interview with someone that's gonna be on the card here tonight. We lost the video, but we have the audio, and we were gonna have Jared do his fucking spot on Macho Man.
I was so heartbroken that I didn't
yeah,
get to
because
do
he's gonna be
that.
like, yeah, Steamboat and I, we're gonna go out there and it's gonna be really good, Dick. And he was just gonna do the whole thing. But we're gonna continue the conversation about wrestling video games, and I know how I'm going to end this podcast. It's going to get pretty heated, I think, because I'm going to ask a question. But we're going to hear a little bit more about that when we hear a word from our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by Yoo-Hoo, a product of Keurig Dr. Pepper. So here's what I want you to picture right now, right? You're on a long road trip. You're driving along and you're thinking, man, I could really go for a nice, sweet, refreshing drink. You pull into a gas station and the first thing you see is Yoo-Hoo. And I got to tell you, grabbing that Yoo-Hoo, that's going to be the right decision every single time. Yoo-Hoo is available in a variety of flavors, vanilla, strawberry, but here at MadBash, our personal favorite is chocolate. I'm going to tell you about Yoo-Hoo a little bit more, right? We absolutely love this stuff here at MadBash. We cannot get enough of it. And you know what? We're going to sweeten the pot a little bit here thanks to Yoo-Hoo. If you see us at a wrestling show and you buy a MadBash wrestling sticker, you are entitled to one free bottle of Yoo-Hoo on MadBash Studios. Limit one per customer while supplies last. Now, come on, guys. You can't beat that deal with a stick. Again, MadBash would like to thank Yoo-Hoo so much for sponsoring this episode. This episode of the Spot Show podcast is also brought to you by Hybrid Championship Wrestling, or HCW, if that's what you prefer to call them. Listen, Hybrid is an independent professional wrestling company based out of Terre Haute, Indiana. They have talent from all over the United States and are putting on star-studded shows all year long. But here's the thing about Hybrid. They are always looking for young new prospects and looking for new talent, sponsors, and business partners so that they can continue to bring you some of the best independent wrestling in the Midwest. If you want to go ahead, feel free to reach out to them on Facebook, Hybrid Championship Wrestling, on Twitter at HCW_live, or on Instagram at HCW Midwest. Thank you so much to Hybrid Championship Wrestling for sponsoring the Spot Show podcast. This episode is brought to you by Retro Zone with Jalen Silva. Whether you're a seasoned retro enthusiast or a newcomer eager to listen, Retro Zone promises an immersive personal and educational journey into the captivating world of retro pop culture. So, grab your joystick, adjust the VHS tracking, and join Jalen as he unravels tales of the golden age of pop culture and how it continues to shape the present and the future. The Retro Zone, where yesterday was way past cool. All right, we're back. Madrox, you said that you had something you wanted to bring up.
I do. We've been talking a lot about like popular franchises for wrestling games.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the games that like are not WWE, not WCW, and make us question what the hell were they thinking.
Let's start with TNA Impact.
Impact wasn't bad.
Oh, man.
What game were you playing, brother?
Now, hold on. Let me say right now, just for the record, I have played that fucking game more than probably other ones just because how many versions there were. Like,
there's a shitload of versions of that
I played
game.
the PSP version bunch. The fucking PS2 version is what I originally had.
There's a DS version.
The DS version's a little bit different, though. I'll give that one credit. They tried because they added the 6 sides of steel. They had a little bit better roster because that was like when the cross the line shit was happening. So
Yeah.
you had Mick Foley, you had Hogan.
Yeah, Hogan. I was going to bring Hogan up.
I have it now on 360 and I've got the Wii copy. Wii copy I haven't really fucked with much. That was just kind of like, I just want to have it. But the 360 version, I went through and I played the whole thing. Now I will say there's downfalls on it. Like, of course, some of the animations are used for like everybody, like move wise. All the big guys have the same shit. Every fucking one of them.
Do you know who did the animations for that game?
Wasn't it Joe and AJ?
Joe Daniels, and I'm pretty sure Kazarian, and then AJ was one of them.
But the one thing that can't be argued with that game, it had a good look. As far as like the 360 version or PS3 version, graphics were good on it.
I had the PS3 version.
So did I.
Yeah. The graphics were great. Like, someone was literally just a couple of days ago on Facebook, I saw they took a character model from Impact and compared it to AEW Fight Forever, and it blew it out the water. It looked better. A 10-year-old game, more than 10 years old, looks better than AEW.
That doesn't really surprise me, especially with like, oh God, the Keith Lee and Bunny DLC pack. Keith Lee looks fine, but God, they did.
Yeah, Bunny looked bad.
Fucking atrocious. I don't know what that was about, but God, she looks terrible on there.
Not to cut you guys off, but you guys are still thinking too mainstream wrestling game wise. What I had in mind was Legends of Wrestling.
Legends of Wrestling was good.
Rumble Roses.
Oh, yeah, we're going to get all these.
And Def Jam Vendetta.
Oh, man. All
I
right.
actually have one that I want to bring up too, but
I think I know which one you're thinking of.
it's not Backyard Wrestling.
Oh, but that's another one.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Real quick, I'll just take this
Just
and
run
go
your
with...
cap through all these.
All right, so I want to start with Def Jam. Def Jam, yes, it was a weird concept to people because it was rappers wrestling. However, that is a continuation of the Aki system. At the time...
The Aki way.
Sure.
Sure. Dalton Davis just popped bigger than shit. Never, ever. Anyway.
So, they use the Aki engine, so...
Sure.
You motherfuckers.
But, sorry.
No, you're good. So yeah, since they use that engine,
What engine is it?
Notice he
it's
didn't
the fuck
say
you
hockey
Madrox.
engine.
That's what it is.
He knew that I would go, sure. Okay, for real, we're done now.
But yeah, that's like the best thing about that game. Admittedly, as a kid, I didn't play No Mercy and shit at that point when it came out. I didn't have a 64 till maybe like a year or two later. So I missed out on that first. So I didn't appreciate the game then. But now, oh my God, dude, I super appreciate it because, like I said, it's an advanced version of that engine.
Yeah.
It's just, it's weird that it's rappers. And Fight for New York, I'm going to give that a mention because they still use the engine. There is some maps in there that have wrestling rings. It's just after that one when they did the Icon game, that's when they were like, okay, we're completely dropping any wrestling aspect of this. But Def Jam, decent game. And the PS2 version, that's like a $200 game.
I was just thinking that as you were saying that, I was thinking in my head, I was like, I've seen it go for a lot of money.
You know, it's funny. I had it on PS2 originally, and then I was a dumb kid. So I was like, oh, I'm going to pawn this or trade it in. I'm going to get something else. Because it didn't have...
I believe we all did.
Dude.
It didn't have the same... it didn't have the same connection with me at the time. Because I was just like, oh, well, it's a wrestling game, but it's rappers wrestling. So I didn't really think of it like the way I do now, where I'm like, oh, I wish I never sold that. So I got like 2 or 3 versions of that or 2 or 3 copies of that GameCube version later. But that even, I'm okay with having the GameCube version because the controls and shit, it's closer to what it's like. This motherfucker.
Just turn off the fucking setting, dude. Where
That
it
wasn't
automatically
me.
plays videos with sound.
That wasn't me.
You are
that was
recording-
a messenger.
You are recording a podcast right now. Be professional.
There's no
He's
professional.
looking at
Jesus
it.
fucking Christ, dude.
I don't even know
Anyway.
what you're looking at. It looked like a fucking owl. What are you doing?
Anyway,
fucking know,
go
dude.
into your settings right
I
now.
turned it off.
Good.
We're keeping this in.
We're keeping
No,
it
it's
in.
absolutely staying in because at the beginning of this, you were like, oh, it's not going to happen because I'm recording a podcast. And then it fucking happens 30 minutes later.
I checked the time and my phone unlocked. I can't help it.
Jesus Christ. Again, if you turn that default fucking setting off, this
I was
wouldn't
in the middle of
happen.
recording a podcast. I was trying to be professional and not mess with it.
Anyways, you talk about being an idiot kid and trading in a game, and then you're like, fuck, dude, because then you see it skyrocket in price. My story is of Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 3, and that
PS2, right?
is PS2.
Yeah.
And I wasn't even the one that traded it in. My nephew traded it in because I loaned it to him, and he
What a
accidentally
jackass.
I still give him shit about it to this day. And he accidentally traded it in, and it's one of my favorite PS2 video games of all time, and now it's just ridiculously expensive. I have it, but the disc is weirdly damaged and it freezes up really bad. But other than that, I mean, I still have the game.
I think we need to just take like 5 minutes and just straight bury your nephew right now. Just
Oh no,
you
he
motherfucker.
gets enough shit all the time.
Well, just know if I ever meet him, he's gonna get more shit from me. Because I will say, outside of just wrestling games, I'm a huge retro collector as far as video games go. Like I will say, here in Indiana,
you've never really
weird,
seen.
man.
You've really never seen my collection, have you?
No, I don't
Of
think I
retro
have.
games. We might need to go take a look at that when we're done.
Well, I was gonna say the one thing about being out here, it's really weird. So in Washington, there is a big market. Like if you go over, like just between Seattle and Tacoma, there is a fuck ton of shops up there, retro shops. The pricing, some of it's shit's high. I'm not gonna lie, but they price their shit right. Then you come here, and we got disc replay.
Disc replay's a fucking joke,
dude. Fuck them. I don't care. They ain't sponsoring us. Goddamn, I'm gonna bury him right now.
I used to have a connection for retro video games, but he's a piece of shit, so fuck him.
Well, I'll say as far as fucking disc replay goes, so I had a PS1 with the screen when I first got here. I needed some money. I bought it for $250. I called them up. And they look through their database, which kills me that a store that has retro games wants to do the database thing. Like,
you know what their
GameStop.
database is? It's eBay. They see what's trending.
Yeah.
If they're looking on eBay, then I don't know what the fuck they were looking at because, like I said, that's a $250 console. And that's with the screen. The screen by itself's $150. They wanted to give me, and I quote, $10 for the screen. I'm like, fuck you.
Yeah.
I know what I've got.
Because you know they're going to turn it around and sell it for
absolutely.
a ridiculous amount of money.
Absolutely. So fuck them. Fuck you, Disc Replay.
So one of my favorite non-wrestling wrestling games, I know Madrox has never played it. I know you, but I know Jared. I guarantee you have Ultimate Muscle Legends versus New Generation on the Nintendo GameCube.
I like Galactic Wrestling a little better.
Okay,
but that's just
fair.
because it has a bigger roster.
It does.
But they're both really good games.
Yes.
Honestly, all the Ultimate Muscle games, well, even like the OG, like I will say the NES one was not good, but there's one on Super Nintendo. I can't remember the name of off the top of my head right now, but it wasn't too bad. And there's also I want to say it's going to be more on the lines of like a fighter, like kind of like a Mortal Kombat style, because it's, you know, it's the side view shit. There's another one that came out after those two games. I don't remember the name of it off the top of my head right now, but that's one of the few that I don't have in my collection. I think it's called like Muscle Grand Prix. But
did I see something? I think I did, that they're like rebooting the series, like they're bringing the anime back or something. That would be dope.
That would be cool.
That would be cool.
All right.
I was a big Ultimate Muscle fan, and I know that that's just the American name. I think the English name is like something. I don't know.
Kaneko Man.
Yeah, Kaneko Man. Yeah, and he does the Kaneko Buster.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's probably one of my favorite non-wrestling games, because it's like not the structure that we imagine. Like,
yeah,
it's more arcadey.
It's kind of like what All Stars was trying to be.
Yes, that's a very good comparison, actually.
Yeah. Because you have the moves where you're literally jumping in the air like fucking 30 feet and then slamming into the mat. I mean, it's the same concept, which, by the way, I liked All Stars. I know some people are hit and miss with that.
I never played it.
I liked it a lot.
It was decent for what it was.
You know what I played a lot of, and it was technically a spinoff, was Legends of WrestleMania.
Legends of WrestleMania was cool.
I loved it.
The engine was really weird.
I liked the engine, actually. It was more slow. It was good.
I liked the chain wrestling thing on it. I thought that was really cool. I liked the roster for what it was. The only thing I didn't like, it was cool you had a Royal Rumble arena, but I feel like they should have at least given you like Raw or something. Just maybe even SummerSlam, but just give... I get it. It's a Legends of WrestleMania, but let's be real here. How many times are you going to have an Undertaker match and in your heart feel like, hey, it's okay, I'm going to beat the streak? I ain't doing that, damn it.
Yeah. They did have a beat the streak mode, didn't they?
They had that in...
Oh, yeah, that was in one of the... Yeah, I remember
games,
now. Yeah. Because wouldn't you play as Undertaker and fight all of the people that he...
Yeah, I think they did that. And then they did that one shit where when you wrestled him, he had like special powers and shit. So
that's right.
It made it almost unbeatable. I don't even remember if I fucking beat him. I really don't. I may not have. But I remember that mode. I thought it was cool.
Dude, I just remember in Legends of WrestleMania 15, The Rock versus Stone Cold. That one was so fucking hard because you had to button mash at a certain point.
Yeah.
And then you had to eat so many finishers.
Yes. Oh, it was so hard. I think it stopped at 15, right? They didn't go past 15. Yeah, that was the last one. I almost got all of the achievements for that game on 360, actually, but I think what stopped me was The Rock and Austin, because that match was fucking hard.
The one sad thing about that game, though, where they really fucked up, I understand they didn't have the deal with Macho Man at the time yet.
Yeah.
But having Macho Man not in there, terrible. One of the worst things you could do. I remember going on that Cause site. I got a formula for 2 different Macho Mans that I proudly was like, I'm making that shit.
That never did.
No, I ended up.
Oh, okay.
I ended up making them.
I didn't know if you maybe it was
made them
difficult for you to make.
I made them. I also feel like they fucked up by not putting Kane in there, because regardless if it was just one match.
Well, Kane could be in it. Because if you had a save file for that version of SmackDown vs. Raw, you would unlock that entire roster.
Yep.
But that's unmasked Kane.
Okay, fair. I agree.
Because they had Undertaker. That was one of the few games that had that fucking like pre-ministry post Phantom Undertaker attire.
Yeah, and that's one of my favorite versions of the Undertaker.
Oh, dude, absolutely. That same here, because that's what I grew up with. Like, that was my first memories of Taker.
What Dickie was just talking about, like, that game was revolutionary with that whole concept. Like, if you buy this game, you get this roster and you can include it in this game. Like, that never happened before.
Yeah, no, that was a really cool idea for them to do. Also, the Hell in a Cell mode on there, that was badass because you could you start off on top. So that was cool shit because, Mankind Undertaker. But then also, if you threw him into the steps, you could get the thumbtacks. That was the first game that I know of that did thumbtacks. And super badass.
ECW had thumbtacks.
I never played any of those games.
You never played any of the ECW games?
Never.
Oh my God, dude. If you liked Attitude,
it's the same engine.
Yeah, I knew that.
Hardcore Revolution is 100% a complete ripoff of Attitude.
I knew that, yeah.
But Anarchy Rules, they stepped that one up. The engine's a little different in the sense of the AI on there is harder. I don't know why. They're doing more reversals and shit. That was one thing I noticed. But the match types. You had a backlot brawl. That was just a backstage. You
couldn't have the Inferno match, so they had Molten Volcano match.
Yeah, it was the Brimstone match.
Yeah, yep, Brimstone.
So you threw them to the outside, and then you hear and then they fucking just disintegrate.
Then from there, it spun off into the Legends of Wrestling series.
Well, hold up. Before we get to that, I also want to say on there, they had the Rage in the Cage, which was cool because it was a straight up MMA cage. You had it was knockout or submission too, but it was literally just a fucking UFC cage.
It was the Lion Dens match from Ken Shamrock and Dan Severn.
Dude, I didn't even really think about that.
That's all that was.
Man, see, that game was really fucking cool.
I'll need to check it out.
They had a dumpster match too.
Rules, right? Mm-hmm. I'll check it out. I'll need to look into.
I'll say because I see the PS2 over there behind you.
Yeah, I got a PS2 in the studio.
You got the silver one too, which I always wanted those.
Yep.
But oh shit, Dickie. I'll say for the podcast people too here. I can do the thing where it'll unlock the region lock on there, and you can play Japanese games without having to do any weird shit.
I have that actually. Mm-hmm. I have it because I have the Japanese Dragon Ball Z games.
Okay,
so I have to have it to do that. Yeah.
Okay, then cool.
Yeah.
Then I would definitely say if you at least get one of the Japanese games, dude.
I'd like to try them out.
But into Legends of Wrestling,
yes. I have something I want to bring up that I think is probably going to get pretty heated. So let's just talk about Legends of Wrestling.
So the first one, it's okay. I mean, it was the first one, so whatever. You can't expect a super lot out of it. The Saving Grace is on. I thought it was really cool. Rob Van Dam was in that one. That was pretty badass.
Which was weird.
One thing though, they used for him and Sabu, they used the themes they came up with for the Anarchy Rules game. Or not Anarchy Rules.
It was the same characters from the Anarchy Rules game.
Well, they didn't use the same model, but they used the same fucking themes and shit.
The same gear.
Yeah, Van Dam had the
tie-dye fire shit.
And Sabu had his green pants. The second one, a lot better. It was cool, but the best one out of them,
number 3.
And
I've not played 3.
Showdown's really cool, but the only downfall, I would say it got the 2K20 experience in the sense that it was not finished. So
they completely took the old acclaimed gameplay system and threw it out the window and introduced the SmackDown game control system.
Yeah, yeah, they changed the controls around a little bit, but man, they had such a big roster, and plus that was like one of the.
There was like 80 people in that one.
Yeah, that had Sting, had Warrior, Macho Man was added in there.
What one was Andy Kaufman in?
He was in 2. No, he wasn't in the first one. He was in 2 and Showdown.
Are you sure he wasn't in the first one?
I don't think he was in the first one. He might have been, but I mainly remember him in the second.
Is your phone going to go off again as you unlock it?
No, I muted
Okay, cool.
everything.
That's good to know. So was it Legends of Wrestling 2 where they had the where you chose a territory?
Yep.
Okay. because I just remember I chose the Chicago territory, and it was like an Italian mob boss was like the promoter.
Oh shit, ladies and gentlemen.
Hello, testing.
Technical difficulties.
Did you break it?
No, Dickie Wabash just accidentally unplugged his microphone. Why don't you guys just keep vamping until I fix it?
All right,
man.
Well,
I'm Googling it right now to figure out.
I was gonna say though.
Okay, I'm back.
You were right though on what that fucking story mode was. I like the showdown story mode a little bit more, just because you played through each era. So you played through I think you played through the 60s originally. Then you went to the 70s, 80s, and then 90s. Yeah. So if you pick someone who was through all those eras, good example, I picked Terry Funk at one point, went through with him. He's got all his old tires. He's got, where he doesn't have the beard and the long hair, up until where he's the fucking middle-aged and crazy Terry Funk that we all love. That was really cool. It's just the only downfall. When I said they had the 2K20 experience, it's because sometimes the animations and shit, it would get real choppy and laggy.
But the animations though, the worst part was it was just guys' hair. Shit you could live with.
Just shit that it doesn't even really matter.
If you do
in
a
the
head
grand scheme of
scissors,
things.
with
It's
Sabu, the
big
hair
deal.
would
This
shoot up
guy's
the side of the
hair isn't
screen.
moving.
Yeah.
Well, and I could be wrong on this. They might have been trying to do the slow-mo effect for some moves. But some moves would just, it would seem like it'd get real slow for a second and then speed back up. I was like, oh.
Yeah. But my point I was making before my mic cord came unplugged is I just remember Chicago or New York had the Italian mob boss promoter, and he would be because they had full voice acting in the game, but they would have to plug it in. So it'd be thank you for choosing this territory, Andre the Giant. And it was just it would pause. It was really funny.
Andy Kaufman did debut in the second game, Mr. Encyclopedia over here.
Oh.
Speaking, just throwing out the audio thing, the worst audio and commentary on any game.
Rumble Roses.
No, I'm not even going to say that, dude. SmackDown, just bring it.
Oh my God! Yes.
I would be sitting there in a match. Undertaker was the greatest WWF Hardcore Champion
of all time.
When the fuck did he ever have the Hardcore title? Did he?
Undertaker did
in 2002.
Well, I barely remember, so I mean, I can't consider.
He won it from Rob Van Dam at Vengeance, and then he held it for a while. Actually, he made it his hood ornament on his bike.
Oh,
yes, sir.
So if that was 2002,
so then it had to have been
that game.
Shut Your Mouth.
Well, no, it was just Bring It, because it was specifically that one. Shut Your Mouth had commentary, but it wasn't that bad. It was a little bit better.
It was still where it would go, The Undertaker is the great, and it was just it would, it was bad.
Fill
it
in
was
the blank type commentary.
So we got two topics here, then we're going to start to wrap up here. I don't know which one I want to start with. Fuck it, let's start with this one. Which one's better? WCW NWO Revenge or WWF No Mercy?
No Mercy.
No Mercy.
You're both are fucking idiots, and you are buying into the hype. Revenge is a better wrestling game than No Mercy.
We've already discussed this before. I was going to see if you remembered my answer.
All right. The one thing I will say about Revenge that was really cool, I like the high score mode, because I would always do tornado tags, or I'd just do normal tags with all the lucha guys. And I would always get the high score thing after the match saying, here, punch your initials in. You beat this.
Yeah.
That was really cool. But I didn't like the championship mode on there, because you're just playing over and over without really knowing how many matches you're going to go through until you get to the title. It's I don't want to fucking do this.
I just think from a strictly gameplay perspective, I liked Revenge a lot more.
Revenge for the gameplay and for the fact that Raven's on the cover.
Yes.
Hey, Raven being on the cover. That
You said
is
No
pretty
Mercy,
wild.
though.
I know. I was joking with you because me and you have had this conversation
okay.
on the podcast before.
So we're teaming up that Revenge is better than No Mercy.
Yeah, because I remember you guys talking about Raven being on the cover.
We
of
might have
that.
talked about it with Travis.
We did.
That long ago, because he was originally supposed to be on here when we talked about video games, but we tagged
Travis
in.
is a No Mercy kid.
Yeah, Travis is No
But,
Mercy.
All right, so
Diggity dog.
the reason I like No Mercy better is because I like the championship mode better on it. Roster wise, it was pretty good. The one thing I don't like, I hate it. I hate it with the fucking Fight Forever game. I hate it with TNA. I hate it with the fucking AAA Lucha game. I hate entrances that only come out to like, oh, or they're on the ramp and then we're going to cut off. Give me full entrances or fuck off.
You know what? That's a weird hill to die on, but I'm all for it. I'm all for that. I agree.
I just don't like it when they like even. All right, so SmackDown 1 and 2, they had the weird.
It was the Trons in the background.
I wasn't a fan of that either. But then when they just bring it in all the other games, they had full entrances. Now they would do that weird thing where they would either like cut to the crowd or they would just cut from like you see him walking down the ramp, then all of a sudden he's on the apron. Didn't really like that, but I would rather take that over them half-ass entrances.
Do you remember in Legends of Wrestling, you could do your own entrance?
Yeah,
you could do your
one.
taunts as you were coming to the ring. Yeah,
I think you can still do that on Showdown.
Oh, that's cool.
But I'm not 100% sure.
So yeah, I'm a Revenge kid. I think Revenge is better.
It
I
is.
really do think Revenge is better than No Mercy. I'm sorry, Jared.
I mean, overall,
outvoted
though,
2-1.
They're both really fucking good games. It's hard for me. But you don't see people really. I mean, now I'm starting to see, because on Twitter, there's a huge modding community more than it feels like there was back in the day almost. I'm starting to see WrestleMania 2000 mods. I'm starting to see Revenge mods. That's pretty cool. But No Mercy has always been the one that everybody in their mama would mod.
It's true.
I mean, dude,
that's true.
I think it's for the fact that more copies of the game were produced.
Yeah. So Jason V is going to probably text me. So Jason, here's what I'm asking, because this podcast is going to be coming out so much later than when we're recording it. Jason V told me a story of WWF No Mercy where he had a ladder match with Aaron Matthews, and I think it lasted like an hour and a half or something. But so Jason, here's what you need to do. Just unprompted, when you hear this, because I know he listens, send me a message of the time limit of the ladder match. Nothing else. Just send me how long the ladder match was, and then I guarantee you I'll be like, what are you talking about? But anyway, yeah, I'm a Revenge kid. I just think Revenge is better. They're both good. Don't get me wrong, but I will say this. You talk about Twitter, you talk about the modding community, but I'm going to take it another direction. I one time tweeted out, I was like, I don't get the hype around No Mercy, why people think it's the greatest greatest wrestling video game of all time. And brother, I might as well have spoken out against a political campaign or something, because I got attacked so quickly with people like, you're so fucking wrong, and here's why it's good, and here's why it's good. And it's like, okay, so instead of attacking me, can you just explain it to me? But like, I don't need to now, but it's just like back in the day, I was just like, I don't get it. Revenge is the better wrestling game.
But you know what? Out of all those N64 games, the best one was Virtual Pro Wrestling 2. It was the WrestleMania.
And that's what I've always
2000.
heard.
I have it. So one day I'll bring it around.
I'd like to play it.
But it's the same engine as 2000. It has a little bit of differences with it, though. So you don't have a cage match. Boo. But I hate saying you don't really see cage matches in like All Japan and shit.
Yeah.
Which it's an All Japan game. They have the same thing how the WCW games and all that had the extra rosters of people that are supposed to be, whoever, they just couldn't get licensed. They do that, but they put stuff in, like they put their, like, good example. Mike Awesome, he looks still pretty spot on to Mike Awesome. I think his tights say awful on the back, but regardless.
Well, I mean, have you seen WCW 2000?
Yeah, have you seen
shit.
Mike Awesome versus Vampiro from Halloween Havoc 2000?
But that, like, you could go and edit everyone. Also, they have like legends in there that you unlock, like Terry Funk, Bruiser Brody.
Forever.
I was gonna say Stan Hansen. He's already in it. Vader's in that, which is fucking awesome.
What time is it?
Vader time.
Trying to think, man.
They can't
what
see
else?
us, Dickie.
I know. We just threw up the Vader V.
One also really cool thing about that game that the other ones didn't have, it had an MMA mode, so you could just switch it, and when you do
It could be like an MMA style.
so like it changes the animations on certain guys too. Like if you use the MMA guys in there, when you do the strong grapple, instead of them like locking up with you, they fucking take you down, and they get on top. They can they can put you arm bar or something, or they can fucking hit you with the mounted punches, whatever. But that was a really cool concept to me. And they have the dome, which you had to unlock this version of it, but they have the dome with the full ramp that extends to the ring. I love that being in games. The downfall of it, though, only certain games, which that's not one of them, let you do it. To me, I call it the bash at the beach fucking spot, because I only saw people standing on the stage taking the ropes and shit during Cactus and Sting. And you can do that on some games. Any game that fucking allows you to do that, I mark out for.
I've no idea. What the fuck are you talking about?
So Cactus and Sting, when they wrestled at Beach Blast, they did a little bit of in-ring work. Most of it was on the outside. Most of it was on the ramp.
Oh, that's what you're talking about. Okay, I thought
Yeah.
you were talking about a video game.
Well, what I'm saying
Well, you
is-
are talking about the video game, but I
Yeah.
thought you were talking about something specifically
I
from
love
a video
Dickie's whole
game.
response right there. What the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, I kind of knew, but I was like, what the fuck is
That
Jared
sounds-
on about right now?
That sounds real similar to
Too much
to
damn
my
yoo-hoo
fucking
for this guy.
comments
He's-
to my kid a couple
Yeah, I
weeks
don't know
back.
what the fuck you're talking about. But anyway,
I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.
yeah. But anyway,
I
yeah.
mark out though for that. If you can throw them into the ropes while you're standing on the fucking the ramp, and they'll hit the ropes and come back to
Yeah,
you,
you're talking
that's
about the
badass.
ramp being connected to the ring, and then you can send. Okay, I got so confused about what you were talking about. I'm so sorry. I was
No,
just like,
you're
I was
good.
zoned in, but I was like, the fuck is he on about right now?
Hey, Fire Pro Wrestling World, they let you do it in there.
Oh, cool.
So
So we're gonna start to wrap up here before too long, guys. But let's end it with this. What's your favorite wrestling video game of all time? Madrox, you go first.
First of all, it's not WWF in your house.
I like
think
In Your
my
House.
favorite game of all time, just for the nostalgia factor, would have to be WWF Monday Night Raw.
I just realized how many games we have just like floated over, not even gotten into as soon as you said In
That's
Your
the
House.
problem. This is gonna have to be a two-parter. Like this,
Yeah.
like we're gonna have to do this. We'll have to get together again some other time and do this, because like we covered a lot of wrestling video games here today.
And not even scratch the surface.
It didn't even
Really?
scratch
Yeah,
the
no.
surface.
There's-
So anyway, you're saying that Raw is your favorite of all time.
Yeah, because I used to play with my grandpa, my little brother, and my uncle all the time growing up as a kid.
And we're talking about the Super Nintendo Genesis ones, right?
Yes. Not the Xbox exclusive.
Look, that Xbox exclusive, it was not a good game as
That
far as
Xbox
gameplay.
exclusive did not have 1, 2, 3 Kid, Bam Bam Bigelow, Luna Vachon, and Doink the Clown.
But I will say what that game did have that was cool about it. It's the only cool thing about the game. The graphics at the time, like the presentation, the camera angles, everything was like the closest thing to TV that I'd
is
seen.
true.
That I'd seen in a game until that point. But God, the gameplay was horrendous.
Do you remember the VHS tape that told you all the combos and stuff?
Yep.
Yeah, I used to rent it from the video.
I
game
used to
store
rent
all
it
the
from
time.
Couch Potato
Yes,
Video.
sir.
Hell yeah, West T Trash coming through.
I used to hate when it not be in.
Oh, I used to rent it just to watch it. Like even if I didn't even have I would just be like, I just want to. Hey, this is Razor Ramon, and I'm gonna tell you how to hit my finish. Like it's just whatever.
Dude, that was at the time where they were just making a lot of weird tapes. Because
I'm getting on eBay right now to see how much it costs. I might buy it.
For some reason, now this isn't.
This was pre-strategy guides, dude. All you had to do was get the VHS tapes.
I'll say around that same time, I remember they did the Superstars, the album, the music videos.
Yep.
And I've got that. And God, I don't even think I ever sat through that thing as a whole because it was so bad. Ugh.
Your phone's not going to play anything, is it?
No, because I'm a professional. So Jared, what? Jesus Christ, it is $40 on eBay, sealed.
That's sealed, though, man.
That might be. Holy shit! Look at
That's
that.
not that
I
bad,
guarantee
though.
I've spent more than that just renting that son of a bitch.
I've never spent that much on a VHS tape, though. I've never spent that much. I think the most I've spent on a VHS tape was like 30, because I collect VHS tapes.
Man, I
Or
used to.
maybe 20.
I'll go half on it right now.
We'll just split custody.
We'll just watch it together.
I'm not opening it up if we get it.
Oh,
It's
man.
sealed. Jared, what's your favorite wrestling video game of all time?
Man, this is a tough one because there's so many. I don't know, man. The first one that really comes to mind, King of the Colosseum 2. It is a Japanese exclusive. It wasn't the last Japanese game, but so why this one's so special? It's made by the people who made Fire Pro, but it's a 3D game. The rosters, you've got New Japan, All Japan, you got 0-1, you've got fucking...
So Kyle Pfeiffer's in it?
Yep, he is. He's absolutely in it. No.
That's strange.
You got Steve Corino in that shit. You got fucking Samoa Joe before. I mean, it was around the ROH, boom for him, but it's in there as like King Joe. God, dude, there's MMA shit in there. You've got like your free roster, which is basically all the free agents.
So it's already, but it seems like these Japanese video games have like a lot of modes that we don't have in the US.
Well, kind of. What they really do is instead of just focusing on, well, here, we're going to put on a New Japan game, they put out everybody. Like the first...
Because wrestling isn't really as monopolized over there as it is
No, not
here.
really. You're right.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't that big of a thing for like someone from Noah to come over and have a match in All Japan, or like vice versa. Noah is also another company in there that was very prominent on it. I was going to say the first games they did for King of Colosseum, they came out with 2 copies. I think they came out a month away from each other, but you had King of Colosseum Red and King of Colosseum Green. I don't remember which came out first, but when you had both discs...
It's funny that they did red and green because that's what the Pokemon games were when they first came out.
Well, say when you had both discs, you could do kind of the same idea we were talking about with Legends of WrestleMania, where you can import the one roster to the other, and then you have everybody all in one game.
There you go.
But King of Colosseum 2, they didn't do that. It's just one game. They, like I said, they even have the MMA mode on there. That's actually the only game that I have seen a ring that has 5 ropes. They do the 4 ropes thing too, but like I don't remember what company is off the top of my head who did the 5 rope thing, but just little shit about that game, man. It's just a really fun game.
Cool.
The one thing I will say though, it's not one of those games that you could just pick up and start playing. Like you can, but you're going to get your ass kicked.
Easy to play, hard to master sort of thing.
Kind of, yes. And also their finishers are not like how ours are, where you can, throughout the match, you gain your finisher. No, you start out with like 4 power balls. These 4 power balls, they do not just your finisher, because you also can use like, instead of it just being one set finisher, like if your guy does the fucking lariat, like, hey, Kenta Kobashi, he's got the burning hammer, the fucking reverse Death Valley. He's got the burning lariat. You got multiple ones, and every time that you want to hit it with the power, you use the power ball. You don't get that power ball back. You can also use those power balls to get out of submissions, to kick out. They got the evaluation system on there. Like if you fucking...
So it's a risk reward system.
Yeah. Well, like if you do the thing I was just talking about, the fucking rating system, you got to actually try to put on a good match. So like, let's say, I mean, you got to treat it like it's a work, legit. If you want to have a high rating, like if you want the 99%,
you got to treat it like it's a work.
You do. You got to fucking plan out your shit. Like hit them with some fucking big moves, go for a pin, let them kick out 2, do a bunch of shit, let them kick out 2.9, until you finally hit that 3. And the 2.9, it's so badass, man, because the crowd, they do the fucking stamping their feet shit. Just, I don't know, man. They hit so much different. So that's why that's my favorite.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
So for me, you just open up a world of wrestling. Like, I want to play this stuff. Like, I'm going to need to play this stuff with you at some point, dude.
That's why
Yeah.
I've got all this shit.
Yeah. So for me, I'm going to be generic. I mean, I'm not going to go on some like obscure-ish Japanese game. I'm just going to say SmackDown Shut Your Mouth is my favorite wrestling game of all time.
That's a good one.
I love that game. I played the shit out of that game as a kid.
I love the story on it, dude.
The story on it's great, where you walk around the concourse of the arena and you have a star rating based on how many matches you win, and you can be like, I want to win. I want to go after the title. And it's like, okay, you can go after the title. And then you can, man, that was a good game. That was a lot of fun. I remember CAWs not having teeth, though. That was a weird little feature. And I also, that was where you couldn't have entrance attire. So my created guy was just wearing a full ass trench coat whenever he would come to the ring. But I remember, like, you would have a match on a pay-per-view and you would unlock something, and it would be like unlock an arena or unlock a wrestler, unlock an attire, unlock all of this. And like, I remember unlocking Shawn Michaels, and he would come out with the NWO gear on whenever he was a part of the NWO. And then there was one thing where it's like you could come out and you could make an announcement, and one of the options was that you could call Trish Stratus out to be your girlfriend, and then she would be your manager for the rest of the story mode. And there's stuff where like you do an interview and you can select which answers you give in the interview. And it was just, man, that game was just so much fun. That was really the first wrestling game that I spent an absurd amount of time in. Like, I remember playing with my uncle and doing Royal Rumbles all the time. And like, that was before they like really scaled the Royal Rumbles. So whenever you would randomize it, like now they kind of like make it look like there's no reason Scotty 2 Hotty should win this Royal Rumble. So we're not going to AI compute Scotty 2 Hotty winning this Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
Well, boy, did Scotty 2 Hotty eliminate me last, and it was annoying. But yeah, man, it's just the PS2 is my game system. That's the one I've always said I'm a Sony kid who thinks he's a Nintendo kid because I love the PS2, always have. I could have very easily sat here and told you Here Comes the Pain is my favorite wrestling game of all time, but I gotta give it to Shut Your Mouth.
Here Comes the Pain is really good. Like that and 06 are probably two of the best that came out.
I think 07's a little bit better than 06.
07 was all right, but they changed up the fucking controls on that.
07 had ECW, though.
No, 08.
Was it 08?
08 was the first one to have ECW, yeah.
But 06 had the One Night Stand Arena, if I remember right. Yeah, it did, because it had that.
Yep.
And it also had WrestleMania 9 for some reason.
Yeah, that was the one that I borrowed from him and got all the downloadable characters and stuff.
Also, on 06, if you had the PSP version, you unlock Jake the Snake, connect it to your system, you get Jake the Snake on the PS2.
Sure did that, and I played it a lot on PSP. I played a lot of 07 on PSP. Like, I really did. Like, I loved the SmackDown vs. Raw game.
These kids listening are like, what the hell's a PSP?
Yeah, you
What's
kids.
a
One of the
Sega
greatest
Genesis?
fucking handheld systems ever to exist.
Yeah. Well, Jared, this was an insightful conversation. I learned a lot about Japanese wrestling games that I did not know about at all. Like, you're telling me games I've never even fucking heard of. And, you know, I would love to play these games with you. I think it would be a lot of fun. Just show me the ropes, kid. Like, show me what kind of shit I've been missing out on. I think that'd be cool.
Trust me, if I come over here with, I mean, you said you already got the PS2 situated. If I come over here with just the Japanese games alone for that, I can definitely put you on some game. Because, I mean, there's some that I didn't even mention, dude. Like,
oh, there's a lot we didn't mention. That's why we might have to have you back at some point.
I will definitely fucking be back.
Yeah. Well, you're going to be on Paige Show coming up here. We're going to dive a little bit into your origins of how you met us and got rolling with the MadBash crew. Going to talk about your origins with AXE and how you know all them
and long live evil
stuff like that. Yeah. You know, by the time this drops, it's already been out for a couple of weeks, but check out Lost Lake Estates.
A great album so
Great
far.
album. I'm really enjoying it. But Jared, you are an absolute monster on social media. So red carpets rolled out for you, just like hot ones. Go ahead and tell us where we can find you.
You can find me everywhere. You can find me Facebook, Twitter. Well, I think it's called X now, but whatever. Threads, TikTok, fucking Instagram. You can literally find me everywhere. It's either official Jared Savage or it's Jared Savage 666. I'm trying to honestly kind of steer away from that one just in case
because of the connotation.
Yeah, because I figure, just being honest here, if there's companies, you know, that do like the religious stuff that I want to work at, and I know if I have that, they're not going to want to book me.
Yeah, I can see that.
But like I said, those are the two things. I've got all my links where I have everything compiled, so that's probably the best thing to find. If you go to my YouTube, I post all my matches there. Admittedly, I'm probably a bastard for that, because I'll literally, the day something pops up, I'm like, all right, downloading, cut my match out, upload.
Self-promotion, there's nothing wrong with doing that.
Well, I feel like if you have one place that everyone can watch your shit, then no one's got an excuse to be like, well, I didn't feel like sitting through that whole show.
I agree.
Also, merch-wise, find me on Pro Wrestling Tees and Brainbuster Tees. I sell everything the same price on each, but there's exclusive items on like Brainbuster that you can't get on Pro Wrestling Tees.
That's awesome.
But I'm literally everywhere. I'm not a hard person to find. Just fucking look up Face Collector Jared Savage and you will find me.
Most definitely. Madrox and I don't really fuck with social media a whole lot, so if you want to follow us, just find us, facebook.com, MadBash Studios. That's where you can find most of what we're doing. And of course, patreon.com/MadBash Studios is where you can really, really support us and get some exclusive shows. Just like this exclusive show we're about to record right now with Jared Savage, paid show. So, Jared, thanks for joining us on Spot Show.
Let me just say real quick.
Yeah.
There's no excuse for anybody other than, I can understand hardship, financial, whatever. But there's no excuse for anyone not to be on the Patreon. I'm on the paid show today, and I'm fucking subscribed to the Patreon, for fuck's sake.
And we appreciate that. We really do. Jared's one of the OG brothers that always gives us a shout-out ski whenever he gets the chance. So
absolutely.
We'll dive more into that on paid show. Again, Jared, thank you. Madrox is ready to be done because we've had microphones in front of our face so many times today. So, yeah, we'll see you guys on paid show.